What's up, guys? So in this video I'm going to show you the one mistake that a lot of people make with supply and demand. I'm going to show you how to fix it, why it's costing you a lot of money, how you can start making a lot more money by avoiding this very simple and easy mistake. Alright, so let's go ahead. I don't want to waste too much of your time, probably keep it a short video, but let's dive into it. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at the SAN. If I look at this, now let me just try, kind of explain this for you guys. If you should already know what supply and demand is, all right? If you don't, go to my channel. I make a bunch of videos on it. But supply and demand at its base essentially means you want to look for speed. Okay, speed at the end of the day is what causes supply and demand. That's how you're able to identify good supply and demand zones, right? So if we see a very fast move, that's going to indicate there's probably good supply and demand, right? So it's the difference between something like this, look at the daily chart where we have kind of back and forth, not very, choppy, kind of back and forth, and then we have something like this, which is just straight move up with no pullbacks, okay? This is going to be a better identification of, okay, there may be some demand down here, all right? Or this action right around here is essentially not telling you anything, right? It's a chop zone. You kind of want to stick away when trading. Now, what is essentially this one mistake? Well, first, let me go ahead and kind of explain, right? If we have supply demand, right, it's about speed, like I said, and speed at the end of the day can have pullbacks in it. And the thing that people don't look out for is those pullbacks and the size of those pullbacks. So let's say we have a supply demand zone here, or we'll call it a demand zone, right? And then we have a fast move higher. And then you got to understand what happens after that move happens, okay? Let's say we have an example like this. Pull back here, and we start to consolidate around here. Maybe we move up again, maybe we move down a little bit, maybe we go back and forth. Whatever it is, this is what's going on. Okay, so this is our zone, right? We have a lot of buyers down here. They shoot price higher, pulls back, we're kind of just consolidating. Now, let me show you this versus something else. Let's say we have something like this, all right? Let's say we have another consolidation, another demand zone here. We spike up, pull back a little bit, maybe move higher, maybe move down a little bit, and then just consolidate up here. Okay, this is kind of the key difference here. I'm gonna do this one in purple so you can see it better, right? This is what I'm trying to get you guys to get at. All right, one of these is a much better demand zone than the other. All right, and this is one thing that a lot of you guys don't look out for when drawing your zones. All right, this one is not as good as this one. All right, you can probably tell why. Simply because we pulled back pretty close to it already. All right, now why does that mean it's a bad supply-demand zone? How do you know what pullback rate is good, what is not? I'm explaining that in this video. But simply by just looking at the chart itself, being able to understand, okay, this is a much better demand zone. These are the ones I want to be taking, right, when price does end up eventually coming back down to it, versus this one, where price comes down to it, probably end up going lower, actually, right? Now, the one mistake, right, is the pullback, and people don't really watch out for the pullback. Now, why is the pullback important? If we think about supply and demand for a second, and I'm going to show you some more like real examples later in this video, but if we think about supply and demand for a second, you need to understand that when you see a fast move higher, that shows that buyers are in control. Now, if price is able to come all the way down here and pull back all the way down here, that means there actually isn't a lot of strong buyers, okay? It means for a second there was, but then there wasn't, right? Where something like this, we have strong buyers all the way throughout, and they hold price up here, okay? It means there's a lack of sellers. If there was strong sellers involved, price would have pushed lower, but we still have people buying it all the way up at these prices, all right? That means we have aggressive buyers. Right, so when price pulls back pretty close to that demand zone, we don't have much of a gap here. You can call it a fair value gap. You can call it whatever you want. I'm talking about this gap right here, right? From the base of the top of that demand zone to essentially where that next pullback is. I'll draw this in, let's see. We can draw this in blue. The bigger this zone, the better the demand zone. All right, very simple to understand, right? And again, the reason is if price is pulling all the way back down here, that doesn't show there's strong buyers. Okay, if there was strong buyers, they wouldn't have even let price come down here. They wouldn't even have let price move down at all. It would have just kept going higher. But it shows a lack of strong buyers, right? So that means this demand zone is going to be a lot stronger. Now, let me go ahead and show you an example. Let's go ahead and take a look at Asan, okay? You can see Asan, this is an example of a good demand zone, right? So we draw it out, price moves up, pull back a little bit, tight consolidation, and we end up going all the way higher, okay? And in this process of moving all the way up from what, $15 all the way up to $22 in like 5 days, there's no pullbacks. Okay, the biggest pullback we get is right here, from this high to this low. All right, this one's not that bad. If we do a simple retracement, which I don't really like to use, it goes about 50%, right? 50% is not great. It's not bad at all right? Much better than something like down here, which I'll show you. But the fact that we went all the way up with no pullbacks at all until, what is this, like 2 months later, that shows this is a good demand zone. Now let's take a look at something like Chewy. Let's go down on like an hourly chart, right? Works on all time frames, by the way. You can use it across all time frames. We have something like this, okay? We have price move up, we have this fast move higher, and then right here, we pull back immediately, and go back, and then pull back, and pull back, and pull back. And you notice that, if I expand this, draw this out, these pullbacks are very close to our demand zone. Remember, our demand zone is right around here, okay? And if we, again, take that blue gap that we had from our demand zone to the last pullback that we have, make it blue, this one's pretty small, right? Pretty small like this. If we compare it to Asan, we go back to the daily chart, where is it? Right here. You can see, if we could take it from here, this is kind of the real pullback right here. This is a much bigger zone. Okay, this is a much bigger zone, which means you're strong enough buyers to move price all the way from here all the way up here, and there weren't any sellers in the way. But looking at Chewy, smaller time frame, you can see, yeah, we did get that fast move, right? That shows that there is some demand. All right, fast move equals demand. We saw that fast move out, but we immediately pulled back. We immediately saw sellers right after we made that move. And the best way to trade supply and demand is you really want to wait for no pullbacks at all. And that's why if we zoom out just a little bit more, right, go on like a 4-hour chart, probably a daily actually, let's see. Yeah, come down to a daily chart, get rid of this. This is a much better zone, okay? We came very close to it. We didn't quite touch it. We came very close to it. Now this would have been a much better zone because you can see we go straight up. We have a tiny pullback here. We go higher and we consolidate all the way up here. And then a few weeks later, about a month later, we end up coming back towards the zone. But this one's a lot better because if we look, our demand zone's down here. If we take that zone from the last pullback we have, make this, where's this? Make this blue. This is a much bigger zone, okay? And that means that there's strong buyers. Because if we look, if we take a retracement from, actually let me do this, right? We take a retracement from this low up to this high. We only pull it back like in between the 0.236 and 0.382, okay? That's not a good pullback, which means there's not a lot of sellers, which also means there's strong buyers, which means this is a very good demand zone you want to be trading off of, okay? Versus this one here. It's kind of like a back and forth because what we do is we end up forming two different zones. Okay, you can see we have this zone here, right? We have that fast move higher, a little consolidation, another fast move higher, but then we just pull back right next to it, right close to it, okay? And if we pull back immediately right next to it, it's not a good sign of a demand zone. But if we wait a few weeks, we wait a month, whatever it is, and then we end up coming back down, that shows a lot of strength. That shows a much better zone. Same thing with one right here. Or they're everywhere. You can see right here, right? Price comes up, and if you look at this move down, there's not a single green candle. It just goes straight down, okay? Or we look at a move like, I don't know, I can't even find one. Maybe even like this one, right? Just like this. Price comes down, there's no pullback. The first pullback that we see is right here. It's a tiny pullback, and we end up going way lower, and then we consolidate, okay? If I look at something like this, this is a tiny pullback. This is nothing, right? We pull back, again, around the same area. This is like, this doesn't show there's any strong buyers. This shows that this is a decent supply zone. And although we don't end up hitting it and dropping all the way back to 22s, we do get a nice reaction off of it, right? So when it comes to supply demand, one thing you want to look at is the pullback size. Of course, you want to look at speed. You want to look at, a lot of other things. But The one thing that a lot of beginners mistake is that, you know, they simply just don't look at that pullback, and they draw millions of zones on the chart. But really what you want to do is simply just look at the best zones, look at the high quality ones that just go straight up, don't have any real pullback, and then go higher. Again, right here, let me show you this. See this zone? Look at where the first pullback is. Right here, right? So price came down, consolidated, squeezed higher, pulled back right here, and then consolidated for the rest, and then ended up coming back down and touching it. See how this is a much better zone than, you know, let's say we went here, went this, and we pulled back like down to here, and then consolidated, went higher, right? You guys see the difference? Let me draw this down actually. The difference between these two. This is my demand zone down here. This is also my demand zone down here. This gap between the first pullback we have and the demand zone is much bigger than this one, which means this is a much better zone. These are the ones that you want to be able to trade. All right, you can see that one right here. It ends up working out perfectly. We hit it, end up making a new high, and then later on we end up going lower. But you guys get the point, all right? Now, there's a lot of different ways to trade supply demand. There's a lot of different ways to look at zones. I have other videos on them as well, but this one specifically is going to help you out a lot when figuring out which zones to take and which zones not to take, okay? Now, if you guys did stick until the end of this video, if you look at the first link in the description, I actually made a free training for you guys going over the simple three-phase system that I use to make money trading consistently, okay? It's a free video, so go ahead, check that out. And I'm literally going to show you the simple three-phase system that I created that works extremely well. It essentially makes me all my money, all right, with trading. So with that being said, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out that link in the description. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment below other videos I should make. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next video.